Connecting Arizona. Live from the 12 News studios at 200 East Van Buren. This is 12 News Weekend Today.
Then some expert advice if you are one of the many people facing the payoff of student loans and how it could possibly become the nation's next major money drain. Okay, hoping it is not as bad as the housing market crash a few years back. A number of people in the financial world fear student loans could become the next debt bomb in the economy. This as more and more Americans are struggling to pay off their share of the nation's $1 trillion student loan debt. Jonathan Frutkin, a local attorney, is here with some important help for folks. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Why do we think this is going to be the next economic crisis?
Well, a few things have happened. You know, as early as 20 years ago, you could discharge student loan debt in a bankruptcy. Well, that's changed now, and you can't get rid of your student loan debt. In 2005, the law changed, so even private student loans couldn't go away. We've seen default rates increase from about 8% to 25% since that time.
Wow. Okay, and so what are some tips for students or people that kind of expect that they'll have kids going into school about repaying those loans later on?
Well, you really do need to think about it. The average student has about $25,000 of student loan debt, and a parent who guarantees loans has about $34,000 by the time a student gets out. So you got to think about a couple things. First is starting to save. You get a tax break if you put things in a 529 account.
Okay.
But once you get there,
right,
you really need to think about sticking to the federal student loan programs because they have options like deferment, or they'll discharge some debt if you have a disability, or you could have income-based repayment. None of that's true for the private student loans, and those rates could be much, much higher.
So for people that are maybe going through this right now or have kids that maybe just graduated and are really realizing how many loans they have, $25,000 on average, what happens in the next few years for them? What is the payoff like? I have a friend who has $40,000 in student loans. He pays $500 a month.
Right.
It's a car loan. I mean, it's a lot of money.
And we do see some with over 6 figures of debt. For example, people who went to graduate school or other things because they couldn't find a job. And so the real fear is if things don't change, if there isn't relief from these private student loans, that these people are going to have this continuing problem. The best thing to do, though, is if you find yourself in that trap, make sure to contact your lender, see what sort of programs they have to get you into either an income-based repayment plan or a deferment plan as soon as possible. Don't let those loans go delinquent and get that default rate of interest where you're paying 20 and 30%.
Plan ahead, save, and do FAFSA, it sounds like, is the ultimate plan.
Yes, and make sure, make sure that you're planning, but most importantly, make sure you're communicating with your lender.
Okay, thanks so much for being here. Some really important information. If you would like to hear more about what Jonathan and his staff were talking about, they're over at the Frutkin Law Firm. The number is 602-606-9300, or you can check them out on the web at frutkinlaw.com. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.